characters allowed on Twitter. And some URLs can be 100 characters long. And so by using a URL shortener, you can take this 100 character URL and make it just 10 characters. So the first one that came out on the market was called bit.ly, which is Libya. And it basically made everyone aware that Libya had a ccTLD, right? And so Bitly was a very well-known and the first URL shortener in the US. And they sold a lot more domain names because startups became aware of LY as a great way of doing a domain hack. So something to think about. You may have some interesting opportunities. A lot of words end in ly in English. Lovely. And so a lot of words end in ng and eg too. Right? You can actually do a Google search saying, show me all the words that end in ng. There's hundreds of them. All of those are potential, not just registrations, but someone who will use the name, right? And give your TLD a lot of visibility on the internet.
Take, say, .io as an example.
IO is huge right now.
Yeah, .io, Indian Ocean Territory.
Yeah.
A lot of web developers, app developers have adopted .io as the go-to TLD for their apps and their services. Why?
One started it and then the others found it.
Sort of.
Well, IO is computer input, is input-output, right? So
this was the thing, it became an attractive one. So you see now a lot of these startups, they have a perfectly good .com, but they'll switch to a .io, which is kind of weird for me.
yeah. So there's some opportunities in your ccTLDs as well. And you only need, it's not a huge opportunity, but some of these are high-profile opportunities. And so really it raises the awareness. It's like guerrilla marketing. This is a real cheap way to do some guerrilla marketing and make everyone aware of the opportunity of using a TLD.
And for ccTLDs, there's no restriction on using the TLD in anything.
Well, it's up to the TLD registry. So obviously this is an obstacle in EG because you need to have a trademark in Egypt.
Yes, that's
right.
The policy of EG.
That's just a local
Generally,
policy. Generally, it's no restriction.
You can, look, a ccTLD can do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, there's no restrictions in terms of the internet, in terms of interoperability. You know, this works worldwide, on Facebook, on Twitter, everywhere.
Well,
Right.
assuming that Libya has a connection to the internet, yes. which was a problem.
I think they solved that. So because they were getting so many international users, they added servers outside the country. So because there's certainly some problems in Libya while this was going on, I think they had to scramble and make sure they could keep running while the city burned.
Yeah, one other thing with ccTLDs, particularly for global businesses, and that was a case with Bitly, that if the ccTLD decides to change any of the policies, then your business might be impacted.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, the example I would use is .kz, which isn't a particularly big one, but they decided about 4 years ago that if you want to register a .kz domain, you have to use name servers in Kazakhstan. Which, you know, if you had built up an entire kind of business using a .kz domain, that's a problem. Now, the only app I can think of that uses .kz is a wine app, Corks.
Okay.
You seen that one?
No, I haven't.
It's one, hey, if you're not much of a wine drinker, that's
All right. Right.
But there's, you know, it is a risk. I mean, a ccTLD could change their policy dramatically overnight, and that means it's a problem. I mean, for registrars and for businesses, you know, we would say to our clients, you know, Western European ccTLDs are pretty stable, but some other regions of the world you might go, well, hold on, you know, Eastern European, former Soviet countries, they have an awful habit of changing their policies very quickly and with no warning. So that can be a problem.
And the important thing about this is this Because I think I can read some thoughts. Sometimes I'm a mind reader.
Oh, dear God.
The biggest concern, if I was a CCTLD, is, would this be used in a way that reflects poorly on the country or the registry, right? And so, and in fact, this may have come up with Bitly at one point. They became upset because of certain types of content, adult content, for example. And so, allowing your TLD to be used internationally, you need to be aware of that type of risk, and you can address it by saying it's not allowed for everything, right? It's not allowed for adult content, or it's not allowed for hate content. And so you have this, that's your policy. And so you have the ability to shut down a domain hack if it's not applying to your policy.
But you have to be careful, because shutting a domain down it's a big thing. When you're killing all the content.
You're killing a business.
Well, it's not
In this case.
So, for example, a URL shortener, we host several of them. So you might have, let's say, 1 million URLs in a system. 1% of that 1 million points to malware or something, or some other kind of content. Shutting down the entire domain shuts down the links to all the content. So, if you run it responsibly, it shouldn't be a problem. Just be careful.
Right, but my point is to be aware of the danger, have a policy where you define what's acceptable or not. So obviously there's some content you want to make it clear this is not allowed for. So I know some shorteners have tried to be very specific about the type of content is allowed with using your TLD. This .me registry has also identified not only businesses using their TLD, but individuals. And what's powerful about identifying these people is they could become brand spokesperson for the TLD. So if you identify a famous brand or a famous person who is using your TLD, you can actually go to them and say, will you write an article about why you're using our TLD? And so they'll do marketing for you, become a spokesperson for your TLD.
Do you have something from the Middle East there?
Okay, let's skip the slide. Oh, sorry.
So there's some, I'm not familiar with any of those. Maybe some of you are.
So the point is, they identified a new market opportunity. It wasn't just about me, the individual. They identified another geographic region, another market segment for their TLD, which is the Middle East. And so they've started to promote themselves in the region and to the sales channel as a regional type of TLD. This is fairly new.
Yeah, that's the first time I've seen that.
Don't worry about it.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah, I think they've identified, so this is by analyzing their data, they probably started to recognize that there are some Arabic language websites that are being marketed. So in many cases, they didn't come up with this idea, their customers came up with the idea. And they discovered it by analyzing their customer base, looking at the language of the websites, looking at where they're located, and say, hey, some people have figured out a new use for our TLD that we weren't aware of. Maybe we should encourage this and start to promote this.
Yeah, Super Obama is one of the popular ones. It's like a social network. It's an Egyptian thing. It's for the women.
Oh, okay.
It's very popular. I didn't know they had a .me domain. They probably have .com, but they're popular.
زلست وادي مشاري على فيس.
I'm sorry?
زلست وادي مشاري على فيس فيس.me. فيس.
Al-Fassi. Who is Al-Fassi?
Check that first.
The man of Islamic religion.
Oh, okay.
Besides Quran.
Okay.
And the other interesting example here is they've identified another potential market segment, which are people using ME not for business, not for individual use, but for community. So like social networks and other groups are having down, there's a niche there. And so again, when they started off with the business, they did not envision this. They didn't promote it, but they've discovered it by analyzing their customer data. And so this helps inform them in terms of how do we want to market this going forward? What are our new marketing messages? And one of the other new TLDs we'll talk about later, within 4 months, by analyzing their customer data, discovered a whole new market, and it has changed the whole purpose of their TLD. Oh, sorry, go backwards. So, based on analyzing the data, they come up with a marketing strategy. They obviously want to raise awareness of their brand. And remember, the TLD is a brand. So .eg is a brand, .ng, .ke, these are all brands. And so your customers are going to decide what your positioning is, but you can be proactive about it as well. So they spend a lot of time on their blog. They do SlideShare, which is a website where you can take a PowerPoint presentation, put it on the internet. Google will index it. So when people search for certain keywords, they'll find your marketing presentation. We talked about influencer marketing. So again, identify some of your users who have a large following on Facebook or Twitter or on their blog, and use them as a way of guerrilla marketing to promote the fact they're using your TLD. And then they talk about where they focus on lead generation. What it means by that is, again, they don't sell directly to end users. So they only sell through the sales channel. And so when they raise awareness, it's no good if that awareness comes back to their website because they don't take credit cards, they don't take payment. They need to have that traffic go to their sales channel. And so oftentimes they'll do something in partnership with their sales channel. And then the last bullet has to do with renewals, right? So there's an acquisition of new customers, and then there's a retention of new customers. And they're trying to come up with ways of a loyalty program to reward people for using the TLD and renewing every year. So this is kind of a one-picture schematic of what their marketing channels are going to be. So you have your social media networks across the top, Pinterest, Google+, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. They have a variety of content that they create to promote .me, from infographics to videos on YouTube. They attend events. I know McKaylee has some events you can talk about today that they're doing. They have press releases, third-party blog posts. And so that all this is a mix that basically goes into their marketing plans for the upcoming year.
Just interrupting you there,
Yeah.
say for example, infographics. Like you saw on the first day, the infographic for all the domain extensions. That's produced by one of our competitors, but we all love it because it's really interesting and informative. Like infographics, like producing visually interesting content. So you take some statistics, how is the domain being used, who's registering it, what kind of content, present it in an interesting way. Make something not very exciting a little bit more interesting to look at. People love it, they'll share it, they'll read it, they'll post it on their blog. This is like a huge area for content marketing at the moment. Huge.
Yeah, it's interesting. People are so busy, but on Facebook and Twitter, they love to share. And but whatever they share, you don't have an hour to read. You have 20 seconds. So infographic has become one of the newer ways that savvy companies find ways of promoting and raising awareness of their brand. Right? So if you, for example, put out an annual or quarterly infographic about your TLD, showing just what we're talking about here, right? Here's the number of websites we have. Here's a breakdown by active content, non-active content. Here's a breakdown geographically by regions in the country. Here's a breakdown by industry sector. You put that together, your users will spread that infographic in social media and raise the awareness of your TLD and your brand.
The other tactic as well with the infographics is to produce content that people are interested in seeing, which might not be directly related to your business, which is kind of a weird one, but it works. So somebody did one about, I think it was Batman. So the Batman series of movies, you know, the evolution of the costumes, the evolution of the cars. James Bond, you know, how much would it cost to live like James Bond? And it was done by some company that, I don't know, they had some kind of tenuous link to something to do with the James Bond concept. But it was republished on thousands of blogs with people linking back to this company. So they're kind of, you know, they're cool.
So again, this is their actual internal document discussing their marketing plan for the upcoming year. So they say, here's our market overview. They have 800,000 names. They're competing with .com. So right away they identify their biggest competitor. And they make the point that VeriSign is offering millions to their sales channel in the way of marketing development funds, right? So if you want to reach your end users and your resellers are also selling .com, for example, keep in mind that VeriSign is working with them to compete with you, right?
I love the last line.
Again, new TLDs open every day. Registries are being pretty creative in terms of how they work with the reseller channel. The top 10 registrars hold 65% of the portfolio. When the .co CCTLD launched a few years ago, that's Columbia. They decided to also go international. Instead of allowing all registrars to resell their product, they started with 10. They said, we're not going to allow more than 10 resellers. And so there was a fight to see who could be the first 10 to resell .co. So that was an interesting distribution strategy.
And it worked. I mean, what they did was that they chose, obviously, the biggest retail registrars, but a couple of big registrars with a wholesale focus. So they restricted the distribution, but they chose companies with whom they could work well.
But they also they chose some retail, some wholesale, some corporate, trademark, legal ones as well.
It was a mixture. So it was 10 the first year, then it went up to 20 or so.
They keep adding.
They keep adding. But we were added in the second round. But it was
What was your point about the last bullet you wanted to make?
Distribution channel dictates the market. That is something that a lot of the registries forget. You know, ultimately, you know, we are trying our best to sell stuff, assuming that we're going to sell your TLD is a stupid assumption to make. Assuming that the TLD isn't selling, is linked directly to the distribution channel, also a dangerous assumption to make.
So,
it would just be a TLD sell.
So let's talk about the CCTLD that sells direct. You know, what's the implication of that? One of them, it means that if you're asking your customers after they buy a domain name from you, is to go somewhere else to create a website and put up email, right? Whereas if you had a distribution channel like .com, their channel takes care of all that stuff. They become a one-stop shop for their customers. And so if you think about why does someone buy a domain name, they buy it because they want an online presence, they want a website, they want email. Well, go to .com and you'll get a website and an email. You go to someone who just sells their domain name, you have to go find someone else to work with. So they made it real, some of these TLDs with the distribution channel made it really easy to get online really fast and have a presence really fast.
Well, if you look at the example I gave yesterday with the Getting Business Online thing in Ireland, the local CCTLD's rules and procedures plus pricing made it unattractive for us to continue pushing it. So we switched. We pulled the local CCTLD, we replaced it with .co. .co loved us, the local CCTLD didn't, obviously.
So as part of your marketing plan, you do a competitive analysis. So they're looking at what's happening in the other TLDs. Right? So that obviously they know who the 800-pound gorilla is, .com, .tk, which is Tougaloo, they have to be number 2 nowadays, .net, org. So looking at where they are on the list, who's ahead of them on the list. So clearly, when you do your competitive analysis, I would think .com and .net is in there. There might be some other new TLDs that are in there, .arrow perhaps .me, because again, there's some overlap with your marketplace in terms of what ME is doing for the Middle East. So this is all part of their marketing plan. They're doing some competitive analysis. They're saying,
So go back on screen.
yeah,
Sorry. Just look at, if you look at the top of the slide, so we can go back on that. So you see the source, centralized zone data service. So ICANN makes available the zone files for all the GTLDs. So you can go off, you can get the data. It's available, it's not private. And then the other one is Zootnik, which is one of the companies that offers domain analysis.
and some of these guys may think it is private because they don't publish their zone file. But I can tell you, we can get zone file size for almost any CCTLD. You may think it's private, but there are ways to data mine name server information and some other data, and you can figure out how many some of these CCTLDs have, even if they don't publish the zone file.
I mean, there are data sources and companies that specialize, that can help you get information about your competitors.
We talked about this yesterday. You know, it's not just these high-level numbers. Not only can you, for example, research how many .coms are registered in your country, you can actually get the postal addresses, telephone numbers, and email addresses of the companies in your country that have a .com domain name, for example, or .me. So that detailed data is available for you to decide what to do with it. So again, we're talking about a potential competitive threat. What do new TLDs mean to your marketplace? Who's doing well in the new marketplace today? So again, they're analyzing potential threats to their current position. Who might be competing with .me, for example? They're not listed here. What are the ones that are, for example, .soy, which is coming out by Google, means I am in Spanish. They could potentially compete with .me in the Spanish market. So they're trying to understand, are there some new TLDs that might compete with .me? They're looking at, again, trends in the marketplace. How is .com doing in terms of growth? Is it growing or shrinking? .net, org, and so on. So again, analyzing the competitive landscape, seeing which ones seem to be growing, which ones are shrinking is useful to know. It's a benchmark, right? If you're growing at 2% and you're really happy with that, how does that compare with the other CCTLDs on the continent? Is that good or bad?
What's the meaning of the DUN?
Domains under management. So just domain name. So they're tracking quarterly growth as well as annual growth.
So you can see some interesting trends. .info is dropping, so is .mobi. .mobi is losing a lot, and so is .asia. So you can see some of these TLDs, they grew very well, but now they're just dying, slowly.
And you can see .us is dropping. Another CCTLD is not maintaining its customers with all these other TLDs coming out.
So .us should be interesting because, I mean, how can we compete against common net, which are also US based?
This is the problem, because .us is 20 years old or something. I don't know the exact year, but it's not a new TLD.
Well, it's not a new TLD. It used to be hierarchical, but they just opened up the second level Actually, that's when I started my business. So they opened it up in 2002 to allow people to register at the second level. So it's kind of a new TLD in that sense. So a lot of the U.S. companies already have .com. There's that.
I mean, the thing as well is that, you know, I think it was also quite restrictive originally as well, to my understanding.
Yeah, you had to get, it was like middle school, .reading, .ma, .us, you know, hierarchy.
So the problem with something like that is people get the idea in their head, okay, .us is complicated, even if it isn't. There's a lot of things, it's down to what people perceive. So, you know, you can use that positively or negatively. In the case of .us, they've been fighting a losing battle. For the case of my company and GoDaddy and a few others, you know, we made people believe that we were very cheap for certain things, even when we're not. So we would do something like where we would offer a discount, a really big discount for 24 hours. Everybody then assumes that you're the cheapest, even when the discount is ended. It's all about perception.
So this is 2014. This is when 300 or 400 new TLDs came out. On this list, the only ones that showed positive growth are com, org, me, and that's it. Right? Three on this list had positive growth last year. And the rest, so what's the explanation for this? It's the new TLDs. Right? They're taking users away from these other TLDs.
Though at the same time, there's an argument that new TLDs are not picking up as expected.
Right, so their expectation was they would be able to do a lot better. They thought there was an untapped need or demand out there.
Yeah.
And maybe this may still well be. We're not saying all registrations of the new TLDs are at the expense of the existing ones, right? But clearly, some of the existing TLDs are seeing a hit because of new TLDs.
I mean, think about it. I mean, one example I would say is if you think of a typical business. So Mohammed is starting this fictional business. How many employees do you have? Zero. So just himself, okay? How many domain names is he going to register? For himself. How many? One. So he's not going to register a new TLD and a CCTLD and a .com. He's going to choose one. So if there's 4 million new TLD registrations, then that's not like an extra 4 million. Sure, a lot of them might be, but there's going to be a percentage of those 4 million that could have gone somewhere else. Yes? No? I mean, you know, it's basic. I mean, I look at the ones that we're seeing. I see people advertising certain businesses using a new TLD. They're not advertising using a .com, so that's one less registration.
So as I said yesterday for EG, two of the known market segments were trademark owners and speculators, right? And obviously there's small business owners and individuals and other folks. But when we look at the new TLDs that came out last year, the main market segments, trademark owners and speculators, right? So given those two data points, that's your experience at .eg, that's what we believe is happening in new TLDs. If we look at these other TLDs, .asia, for example, lost 37% last year. Why do we think that happened? Well, I don't think trademark owners left it, but maybe speculators left it. They went to the new TLDs. So if they're leaving these TLDs, they're probably going to leave .eg as well. So you may not like speculators in your CCTLD, but they're revenue today. You might want to anticipate them deciding to leave and go over to the new TLD. Because the TLDs, they think that represents an opportunity for them in terms of investment. So something to keep in mind, how this might impact, how will this trend impact your TLD? So now they get into their positioning, right? What do they want .me to be? So they want to be the #1 personal domain name choice. Your TLD might say we want to be the number one choice for businesses in our country, right? So they have a mission statement to help people and businesses express themselves online, control their online identity. So again, you can come up with a similar one for your target market, your target market in your country. And they do a SWOT analysis. So they do a SWOT analysis every year. I don't know if you can see this, but again, we have internal and external, as we discussed yesterday. And across the top, you can't read that. I can't even read it. But it says helpful, the first column, harmful, the second. Let me expand.
Helpful to achieve our objectives, harmful to achieve the objective.
Oh, that's a better phrase.
If I were to scroll it down a little,
Yeah.
to lose the bottom page. Perfect.
So the internal factors you can control are strengths and weaknesses. So its strength, obviously, is the fact that .me means something in the dictionary, as a personal meaning, in different languages. They see themselves, one of their strengths is their tech background. They use affiliates on the back end. So it's a nice big back end registry provider. And they've got the big trademark owners on board. Okay? And so think about in your marketplace whether or not you've been able to get the big trademark owners on board. And if you're restricting trademark owners to get into your space, you might restrict usage of it on their behalf. Weaknesses, they say domain as a product. What they mean by that is domain as a commodity. It's not useful by itself. You have to actually add something to it, like a website development or email. And again, if you know, you have to think about your customers want to use this domain name. Now you're helping them to do that. Another weakness is the price distribution control. So again, there's a good thing to having a big sales channel and a bad thing. A good thing is you now have a lot of companies doing marketing for you. The bad thing is they decide how to price it, and how to do marketing for you. Harmful internal is that I think they have a small number of people. And again, this is all relative to their competition. So we're looking at VeriSign with hundreds of people on staff, and they have a team of 5 or 6 at .me. Cultural differences, again, I'm not sure what they're referring to here, but they might be referring to your own personal backgrounds. They are literally in Montenegro, right? So it might be difficult for them sometimes to understand how to market to the U.S., to the Japanese, etc. And again, global awareness.
So they're targeting individuals, you know, in different countries, rather than dealing with different countries.
That's a good point. In different languages.
Different
Yeah. So those are strengths and weaknesses. External factors, the opportunities. They've built some great relationships with their sales channel. They see an increase in content on blogs using .me domain names. They see that the fact that their mission statement is helping individuals get online, that's a growing movement. People like to brand themselves as what are called freelancers or free agents. And so they see a growing use of people deciding that their brand is as important as the company they work for. They have a lot of domain names still in their marketplace, so again, this is compared to their competition. They have 800,000 registrations. .com has 120 million. So they still have a lot of domain names that they could migrate over from .com that are still available in .me. And some of their threats, they see the new TLDs taking users away from them. They see that they can't control their resellers, right? They can't force resellers to talk about .me every day because something new is coming out that their channel wants to talk about. And so getting the attention of their channel is an ongoing battle for them. And I tell you, they're great. Every quarter I get an email from them saying we have a new marketing campaign for the channel this quarter. We'll give you this sort of rebate if you agree to put us on the home page and make us the top 2 or 3 of the search results and do an email blast. And so they always are working with their channel and giving them incentives to promote their TLD. And then we discovered they're just raising the price from .ng, was a surprise that it gave the sales channel an incentive to start promoting. They talk about changing laws and regulations could be a threat. I don't know what this refers to, if it's a privacy issue or a free speech issue. And the possibility of loss of trust in CCTLDs. And I think this gets back to, is the registry and TLD seen as reliable, right? Or do they seem to change a policy and harm some of their customers? You want to talk to that at all, Michaela, about the trust issue in CCTLD?
Well,
We've seen, for example, .cn in China.
yeah, .cn changed their policies 4 times in the space of a week.
Not only do they change it, they change it 4 times in a week, but they don't give you any early warning. So they said, starting next week, all the .cn your registrants need to provide us a document. And if they don't do it in 5 days, we're shutting down their website. This is what they did. And a month later, they said, never mind.
So .ar is another example. The .ar registry to Argentina, they changed a bunch of their policies, and the problem was they kept changing the requirement for the documents. So we don't even carry .ar domains, but I was contacted by a Fortune 500 going, help! You know, you probably know somebody in the .ar registry, we're going to lose all our domains because we cannot meet the requirements, because they keep changing them. And this is a risk. Nominet, the registry for COUK, one of the largest CCTLDs, they decided to change some of their policies around registrant data quality, to quote them their words. Result, lots of websites go dark. You know, so there can be a risk there. I mean, we mentioned .ly. There's other ones. If you want people to trust that your TLD is stable, it's not just technical stability, it's also stability around policy. It's something that you can be trusted. It's not going to change tomorrow.
Right. So it's doing things without communicating. I think it's a big issue without asking them for input. Right? So we obviously deal with a lot of this in ICANN about whether or not they're involving the community and making sure they get input before some sort of decision is made on a new policy.
Yeah, just switching back to the SWOT analysis, I think number of available domain to register should be removed from opportunities to the threats.
Why?
It's not an external factor.
Well,
it's an advantage of the .me. It's a strength and.
Well, they have it as an opportunity. I mean, the external is because you have to be a third party to register the domain.
So all this, remember, a SWOT analysis is relative to their competitors. So they actually have .com as a competitor, and they think they have more names available in .me than .com. But then at the same time, they say, well, we have less names available than .ninja that just came out. And .ninja might be a great personal website, right? So they're now competing with .ninja that has 0 names. They have 800,000. So they're both the threats.
But the thing is, it doesn't really matter. You can move it from one side to another. I mean, the thing is,
You have to
be aware.
think about it.
You have to think about it.
Right.
You know, every opportunity can also be a threat and vice versa, within reason. But you can look at it in different ways. The change of laws and regulations, you know, these are threats because they're aware that there's policies being pushed by certain governments onto a lot of domain registries. So that might mean that they might be forced to change their policies. And this kind of stuff is a problem.
So based on that SWOT analysis, which again they do every year, this is the 2015 SWOT analysis, they have an action plan. So they look at their strengths and say, how can we leverage some of these strengths? So they have for internally, keep pushing the fact this is all about me. For both the tech background and safety and security of the registry. Right? So this is all about building trust in the brand, the TLD is the brand, and how can we make sure that if people invest in us, meaning they're gonna put up a personal blog or website, that they have trust that that investment won't be wasted. We'll be around 10 years from now, we'll be reliable, we'll be consistent. Our response to some of the weaknesses, again, one is about the domain as a product and price control. They're working closely with registrars. They reach out to us all the time saying, what else can we be doing to help you sell our product? How about if you have a run a promotion next quarter and bundle the domain name with a web hosting product? Because we really want to get people using this domain name. They talk about their small team and cultural problem. Again, it's an internal issue for them. They're looking to hiring, outsourcing to advertising agencies and PR agencies.
Which they do very well.
Which they do very well. And global awareness, how to create content and work on campaigns to raise awareness of how people are using their TLD.
So one of the things, if we look at some of the stuff we were talking about earlier, we're talking about the blog. So the guys at domain.me, they will probably put out a new blog post every 2 to 3 days. And a lot of the blog posts are case studies. You know, here is this cool startup. They're using a .me domain name. This is awesome. This is great. Here's an app that's marketing itself as .me. But then other stuff that they do would be talking about personal branding at a high level. Okay, so you know, why is your personal brand so important? Why is this important? Why is this cool? So it's a lot of mixing of different things.
So how they look at their opportunities, their action plan for opportunities, again, is to improve their relationship with their registrars, continue to promote ME within the blogging community, promote the importance of why you should brand yourself, which is the free agent idea in the US. And again, keep reminding people we have a lot of great names not registered yet. You can't find these in .com. And so this is the same message that a CCTLD can use if you're competing with .com. Names are, in fact, I don't know if you're aware, .xyz, which is one of the new TLDs, has been brought to court by VeriSign. So VeriSign is suing one of these new TLDs. Do you know why? Because XYZ in their advertising has said there's no more names in .com. It's gone. No more. You can't find any names in .com.
Which is ridiculous.
It's obviously, even though it's 120 million, what it's marketing spin, right? But they're saying all the good names are gone. Right? All the dictionary words in English anyway are gone. So technically it's not true, but the message is, if you want a good name, don't go to .com, come to our TLD, which is XYZ. You can use the same message for your CCTLD, right? .com is full. Don't even bother looking.
Yeah, and so far XYZ is the largest new GTLD in terms of number of domains.
Yeah, but wait till the renewal cycle kicks in.
Right. I'm saying so far.
Yeah, XYZ has 800,000 names, right?
I mean, the thing with the new TLD numbers is we haven't seen a full renewal cycle yet.
Yeah.
And I think the first renewal cycle is going to be very interesting to watch. But the second one is where it gets even more interesting. Because you'll renew a domain once, and you go, Irish, look, you know, I've got it, I'll hold on to it. But will you hold on to it for a second renewal? I don't think so. I mean, I'm dropping domains personally, and the company is dropping domains. You know, we get a notice from ourselves saying, you know, these domains are due for renewal. But you look at the list, you go, well, are we actually using them? Do they provide any value to us? Is there a threat to us by letting those domains expire? Answer, no, not really, because I've got really nasty lawyers who will quite happily sue anybody who tries to take them.
So I think CCTLD should use these same arguments against .com. Responding to threats, you know, how do you respond to these new TLDs that might be attracting some of your user base away to them? There's a .Africa coming out, .Arab coming out. They will segment users away from CCTLDs on the content. And so you got to continue to promote to your end customers in the marketplace, raise awareness, develop your relationships with your registrars, and again, build trust that we're the secure, the trustworthy registry to work with. And always promote, showcase the examples of your early adopters. again, .me is saying, here's our target market. I think I'll go back down a little bit, sideways. So they've identified two main market segments they want to promote to in 2015. The blogger who has a personal website, so they read a lot about personal branding, search engine optimization. They learn about adding plugins to their blog, how to build a website, website security, tips and tricks. So they not only identify blogging as a segment, they identify the types of bloggers that they want to go after. And finally, the developer who builds websites. So the programmer or designer, someone who wants to start up a new company or influence and be a spokesperson, self-identifies himself as a geek. So starting to understand the personality of the type of person they want to market to. And this is going to drive their marketing messages to motivate people to buy their domain name. So what they're saying is, let's look at our existing customer base, just understand their motivation for buying a domain name, for using the domain name, and let's find more people like them, right? So here's our marketing objectives for 2015. Raise awareness, educate, acquire new customers, retain the ones they have. So they want to connect their .me brand with positive values through marketing campaigns and content creation. And they have a goal. So they want to grow the number of visits to the website and maintain their conversion rate at 8%. So now they can start to measure that month to month to see if they're meeting their goal. They want to create content about personal branding, controlling your own data, offer good examples of .me. They create a sales funnel to drive traffic to their registry site and redirect visitors to actually register a domain name. Right? So a lot of the registries, for example, have these nice search tools now on their homepage where you type in a keyword and they not only tell you if the name's available, but they will generate other names as well. And you have a buy button right next to it. When you hit buy, it gives you a list of all the registrars you go to buy that name. So again, their goal is to increase visitors every month. They're working with registrars on marketing promotions to end users. And they give additional value through a loyalty program. So this is not only for end users, but to the registrars. So they might give us a bonus if I can keep my renewal rate at a certain percentage rate. So again, they're aiming for 65.5% renewals, right? So again, they can measure, they not only have a goal, but they have something they can measure quarter to quarter to see if they're on target.
Unfortunately, the loyalty program isn't for us, it's for the registrants.
Do you know anything about it?
A bit. Essentially, they launched, I think it was last year, and it's about kind of giving things to active .me users. So let's say you're a blogger based in the US, you've got a bit of a following, you're using .me actively, they might be able to get you free tickets to a cool tech event or something like that. That's the kind of idea that they have with it.
The bottom line, their goal is to increase their, they call it portfolio, by 6.2% in this year. They want to add 6.2% to their 800,000 names under management. So how are they going to do it? They have a marketing mix they call it. Their wholesale price is 10 euros. They work through the sales channel. They make sure that the sales channel makes .me a priority, even though we might be adding 300 new TLDs to our storefront.
But the other thing as well is the new TLDs are unproven. You know, there's no track record. With .me, it might not be a huge TLD, but we know that people are using it. We know that people are registering it. Speaking as a registrar. So if you go to our site, you'll still see .me on the front page. Because people will register the damn things, and that's all I care about.
That's right. So it's a good point, because when you go to your sales channel, need to explain to them, we are proven. Here's our growth rate for the last 10 years. Back of the top 10, where there's only 3 that are showing any growth, and we're one of them.
So the thing is, we, as a registrar, we've been approached by registries about, hey, here's the super duper marketing promotion, you can get this massive rebate. Okay, how do rebates work? No? Okay. Do you know what a rebate is? No. Rebate is money back. Okay, so let's say, example in standard commerce would be, if you buy a television, a brand new television, you might get a rebate vouchers that give you, I don't know, 50 euros worth of DVDs or something, or some kind of cashback type thing. But the way the registries do it in a rebate is, if I sell, I don't know, 100 domains, then for every domain over 50 that I've sold, I'll get €2 credit or €2 cashback. That's a rebate. Now the problem with a rebate is very, very simple. You don't get anything unless you sell. And this is kind of obvious.
Well, the other problem is cash flow.
I mean, well, the other problem is cash flow. But if you're not selling anything, you're not getting any rebate. So you can spend time, energy, effort, and possibly money marketing something that nobody wants. It doesn't matter how clever your marketing is, if nobody wants it, it won't sell. Whereas with .me, you can say, well, it's proven. Yes?
We actually thought of that last year, that we should have a cut-off point. If you sell like certain number of domain names in a particular month, you get a rebate, and then that means you even get to buy it at a cheaper rate than some people. Of course, the registrars, just like you already said, there's a lot of hard work, and they might not meet up to those numbers. So the majority of the registrars killed the idea. The very good ones were in favor of it because they felt they could make those numbers. But the majority who felt they couldn't make those numbers.
There's ways to position it. So there's different ways to run a rebate, or there's different names for these things, like a rebate program, a growth program, incentive program.
Incentive, that was what we actually called ours.
So for example, .me are a very good example of this. They offer a tiered incentive program a lot of the time. So they'll say, okay, all registrars, if you do 1 bit of promotion work, or 1 or 2 bits of promotion work, we will give you tier 1 discount or tier 1 rebate. If you sell X number of domains, you get more. Sell Y number of domains, you get more. So the more you sell, the more you get.
Yeah, we can bring up an example of one of their marketing campaigns.
They didn't buy it.
No, the thing is, same problem in .ie, because the very, very small registrars, their problem is that they don't sell.
Yeah.
They don't have any market share. They can't increase from 0 to whatever overnight. It won't happen. So they hate it. Whereas the larger registrars like us in the Irish market, we love it, because even if I don't do anything, if I don't spend money on marketing .ie domains, we still sell loads of them. We sell hundreds of them every month with no effort, because we are the place for .ie, even if we don't want to be. So, it's one of those things that you can work on it, you can tweak it, but we can help you with it.
So again, the key thing about their marketing campaign here is that it's not just one thing. So they're going through their sales channel, they're reaching end users, they're going to trade shows to raise awareness of the brand, focusing on creating content, encouraging the creation of content for a variety of needs. We talked about the infographic idea, an effective way for people to share your content, raise awareness. They're also doing a lot of social media, which we're going to talk about later this week, as well as paid advertising. So, target market 1, the domain name is not perceived as a product, and most commonly people don't see the value in the domain name unless it's connected to a service. So they're working with what they call service providers, which are website builders, for example, as well as registrars to create a product around personal branding. So they bundle it with website builders, they bundle it with hosting, they bundle it with email. sure that it's not just a domain name people are buying, but an actual utility that they're gonna use it for. The domain name as a product is seen as a marketing tool and as a search engine optimization tool. What that means is if you use us, when people go to Google and search for something, our TLDs tend to be ranked higher than other TLDs, right? So they're trying to convey that ME is seen by Google as a place for personal content, right? So when I go to Google, for example, and I want to find a business in Cairo, you could say, well, if you have a .eg, Google is going to rank your website higher than a .com, which is probably true. So you should use that for your customer base and say, if you want to improve your search engine rankings, .eg will work better than .com. So you can show and highlight examples of that in your TLD. You can talk about how to optimize the .eg website or .ng website in terms of search engine optimization, and then play off of the stability and success of your TLD for some of the other users. So we talked about acquiring new customers, retaining the ones you have. So in terms of acquiring new customers, they have a strategy. So that you're doing sponsorships, becoming part of the community around each conference, offering professional insights about how to use your domain name, how to create an online presence, and driving traffic to the website, and the conversion to register and keyword ranking on the search engines. So again, trying to come up with a strategy on how we're going to acquire new customers. And again, they have this loyalty program to make sure that current customers renew every year. They find key spokespeople, brand ambassadors, who say what a great thing this TLD has been for my business. This has to do with branding and positioning. The key part is to remember your TLD does mean something in the marketplace, right? So EG, what is unique about EG or NG in the marketplace that no one else can provide? And you emphasize that as your position. So here are some of their key marketing messages for .me, right? If you use .me, you'll increase traffic to your website. You'll be seen as a thought leader through education and engagement with the ME domain. You can build relationships, excite influencers, move leads through the channel, retain customers through the loyalty program. So again, these are the goals of the .me registry in terms of creating new content. Their digital strategy. These are campaigns that are connected around different activities. Their blog, their influencer campaigns for some of their key users. They promote on social media, and they share on specific communities. So they identify what communities they want to target, what industry sectors they want to target. They're doing paid advertising, retargeting. What that means is that some social networks, for example, I'll show you a campaign we're doing. You can target, for example, on Twitter, all the followers of a particular Twitter handle. And so if there's a key influencer in Egypt that has 1 million followers, you can do advertising to just their followers. So every time they go to Twitter, they see your ad. And we're doing that right now in the banking industry. So we identify banking associations, and we sell ads to people who just follow that banking association. All right, so there's a variety of things you can do with online advertising and social media. And then they come down to the marketing budget. They have placement on owned media, which are their own websites. But they also use paid advertising on a variety of different websites as well. So the idea that they don't just do one thing, they're trying a mix of different things. And then they measure how successful they're being, right? So are they increasing their ranking in terms of search engine optimization? They have some certain keywords that they want to rank high on, personal branding, for example. And so they can measure from quarter to quarter whether or not they're growing, shrinking, or retaining their ranking on Google and the other relevant search engines. They can measure how many visits they get to the website, how many people actually convert to buying on domain name, how many people interact with them on social media in terms of Facebook, Twitter, etc. When they run a marketing campaign with their sales channel, they find out if it's working, right? Maybe they provide too much incentive versus last quarter, they could change their incentives. And finally, what's their renewal rates on the retaining people? So it's all about measuring their data, their marketing efforts. And so, for example, here they plan to conduct a survey in December of this year, at the end of the year, and find out how people perceive their brand. Any questions on that? So this is .me. We're going to take a coffee break right now.
Yes.
Yep. Before we
Yes. Well,
just